Healing karmic relationships. Now, if you're here in this session, you probably have one or two of the categories that you fit in. You're either looking to fix an existing one, or you're looking to start a new one. Now, interestingly enough, they both boil down to the kind of relationship that you have with yourself. Many of the things which I'm covering, which we'll be covering today, are things which you may already know from your past reading experience, from hearing other speakers, other talks, or maybe you've had the good fortune of being one of those people who have gone through so many different situations in life that these things are practically applicable to you. Either way, I hope you learned something new in this session, and there's some techniques, some theory, and maybe even some stories which are of value to you. Now, let's go into the presentation. In my experience, and in talking with other people, there are mainly three relationship types that people in their life go through: professional, romantic, and family. Now, when we say friends, I am kind of categorizing them under family because these are people that you do choose to interact with. Now, there are, of course, acquaintances and people you just meet at work, or strangers you see. Some of them we don't really have a relationship with as such. So for the practical purposes, people that we need to improve our relationship with: family and friends, romantic and professional. All of these fall under the purview of karmic relationships because we have some sort of responsibility towards themselves, towards others, and of course towards ourselves also. According to certain authors and speakers, there are 4 types of karmic relationships. What are they? It's when two souls, okay, before we go more into the depth of that, we're going to talk about this from the perspective of the soul and not just human beings. Now, while you and I, we are inhabiting, say, male or female bodies or anything in between, these bodies are as a result of the soul's decision to learn certain lessons. A person who has been using a male body may in the next lifetime inhabit a female body, just to learn how to balance it out. All of these jobs, all of these roles, they are simply so the soul to learn and evolve. So if you see a person who is extremely, extremely aggressive, even though they're, say, in a very delicate body, very soft otherwise, you might understand that that soul is going through this kind of lesson. So now picture a scenario. Just imagine for a moment that these great beings called the Lords of Karma, they're sitting down, maybe at a table, and they're saying, okay, you have a lifetime to enjoy, to learn new lessons, to work out old lessons, and go through life and fulfill your soul's destiny. And you say, okay, sure, I'm looking forward to this new life. How do I go about it? Who do I start with? What do I do? And then the higher beings say, all right, this is the country that you're going to be born in. These are the lessons that you need to learn. Now, suppose you were a very soft person and you need to learn how to be more tough. They say, okay, we're going to give you, say, a male body this time, and you're going to be tall and you're going to be kind of strong, and you're going to be born in, say, somewhere in Asia, where the patriarchy is definitely known and established. So do the things over there. And you say, all right, fine. Who's going to be with me? And the interesting part that happens is now these lords of karma, in conjugation with your higher soul, with other beings, they create a life path for you. So now you're there, and this other soul comes up to you and says, hey, you know what? We've been on other journeys together, right? We were in this kingdom or in that empire or during the Stone Age, Middle Age, Dinosaur Age, whatever. Why won't we do this journey together, this life? And you say, okay, that sounds great. And the both of you take birth at around the same time, or at least in the same area. And then as you grow, as your physical body grows, as you go through different points in time, excuse me just a second, someone seems to be having a very interesting time with annotating on my screen. All right, let's clear all the drawings and let's resume the share. Okay, so when these two souls, they incarnate, they're friends. So they may be spouses. Okay, let's talk about this from the perspective of being spouses. They incarnate as spouses, and they are what you call on Instagram as hashtag relationship goals. They get along. They have so much understanding, so much flexibility. Everything is fantastic. These kind of relationships, very rare, very, very rare. The second time is when the both of them have a common goal. And this is where I've seen this actually in my own life. So I'll best explain this with an example. I was working in a particular company at one time, where the husband and wife, they're working in steel. Okay, they're working in the steel industry, and the wife started a software company. The husband had a steel company. The two of them, on the face of it, didn't have much in common, right? But they had a very clear idea of the kind of future they wanted to provide for their children, of the kind of status, the kind of earning, the kind of place they wanted to be in life. So even though the two of them had very diametrically opposite personalities, they still were able to go through life, and are going through life right now, with this common goal of shared prosperity, shared success, good quality of life for the children, travel, and all of that. So in these common goal kind of relationships, what happens is the higher beings, they come and say, okay, the both of you're not the same, but you do have a common goal. Do this journey together, learn from each other. Now, this common goal kind of relationship is when things are a little different, because they don't always have the same philosophy in life or the same approach in life, and things can be complicated. There's often friction. And it's this kind of relationship, and the ones after also, that we'll talk about more and more on how we can improve, how we can identify, how we can improve and move on. The third kind of relationship is when they have complementary skills. Now, this is kind of a stereotype, actually. It's a very stereotypical thing that suppose you have the husband who is super duper cold and very, very logical and always calm-headed and all that. And you have this wife who is very passionate, very full of life. There's a bit of drama. So the wife asks the husband, how do I look, honey? And the husband says, you always look good. Why do you ask me? And she says, you never say good things about me. Stuff like that. So here, it's not that they're misunderstanding, or someone's an Aquarius or other person's a Gemini or a Scorpio or this or that. It's not that. It's just that these two souls have to learn the opposite skills. The cold, aloof, emotionally distant husband, as he goes through this journey, he learns how to be warm, caring, nurturing, and compassionate. And the wife, who can be very emotionally driven, she learns a little bit of balance, a little bit of quietness, and how to adjust and go on. And this adjustment, this learning to get along, all of this can often be a very difficult and troublesome learning process, because it takes a very, very mature person to sit down and say, hey, you and I, we're not fighting with each other. We are fighting against a common problem. It's you and me together against the problem. Now, that kind of maturity is rare, very rare. But people, they do need to learn how to be complementary. They need to learn how to get together in a group. And as Master Chow Sri says, he's the founder of Modern Pranic Healing, that in a group, people balance out the deficiencies of each other. And the last kind of relationship, the fourth kind, is when the two souls, they need to work out some old debt. They need to sort things out. They've been at each other's throats. They've been problematic. And the higher beings have said, okay, children, enough is enough. Get on earth, go through this life, work your stuff out. Do it. That is what the karmic relationship, the karma workout can be. And this, like it or not, is super duper common. It's what we are going through in life. Now, with this kind of a theoretical understanding of yourself, of the kind of relationships you might be into, because as I'm talking, chances are you're already kind of visualizing the different relationships and patterns that can that fall into your life like this. Okay. So now, as with every session, we will begin with an invocation. But we'll have this awareness, this theoretical awareness in our mind so that our invocation is very specific and very targeted. All right. Please sit straight with a good posture. Keep your spine straight. Inhale and exhale slowly and deeply. Inhale, hold for a few seconds, and exhale and feel your shoulders drop. Relax your face. Release all the tension you're carrying around in your jaw. Unclench it. Relax your shoulders. Just breathe deeply. Breathe normally. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, to my spiritual teacher, to all the spiritual teachers, the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, and all the spiritual helpers, to my higher soul and my divine self. Thank you for your blessings of divine light, divine love, divine power, for healing, inner healing, physical healing, psychological healing, relationship healing. Thank you for your blessings of abundance, prosperity, spirituality, and above all, thank you for your help, guidance, and protection. Thank you for blessing me, my family, my loved ones, my friends, my colleagues and co-workers, for blessing all those people in my life whom I have come in contact with and those I will come in contact with in the future. Thank you for blessing them. Lord God, thank you for blessing every person, every being on earth whom I have never met. Chances are I'll never meet, at least not physically. But thank you for blessing them too. And for a few moments, just radiate out this love towards everyone. Because if you're feeling the love and sharing it with the whole earth, well, you know how the saying goes. It is in giving that you receive. So give love, receive love. And when you're ready, have a smile. Mentally connect to every person who is in this session, who are joining in now, and those who will catch the recording later. And just say, Atma Namaste. I'm happy you're here. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Orko. I am a part of the Pranava team, and we are bringing to you these series of esoteric masterclasses, esoteric study sessions spread out over the week, over the months, that we may learn from the teachings of spirituality and make it practical and applicable in our lives. So, moving on from the type of karmic relationships, about the stages of a relationship. Now, you might have got this post on social media, but it's important to share it again because there are 4 stages of any relationship when you're getting into it, okay? But like to think of this, try to think of this from the perspective of romance. Now, chances are that you are trying to attract a partner or you're already in a relationship with a partner and you want to understand where you are. When you see which stage your relationship is based on these inputs, based on these ideas, you might want to make a note and find out if you and your partner are on the same page. The first one is a physical level. In this stage, you may get attracted to someone because of their attractiveness, because of their appearance. And later on, you realize that you don't really have anything in common with them. You don't understand each other, and you're probably in different worlds with different targets, different objectives. The only thing that brought you together in the first place was sexual attraction. Now, there's nothing wrong with one-night stands or having flings or relationships like that. To each their own. We don't judge, we shouldn't judge. But if if 2 people, they are interacting at the physical level all the time, and one person wants to take it to the next stage, but the other person is resisting, the communication is breaking down, then chances are that one is stuck at stage 1 and the other one is maybe on stage 2. Because at stage 2, your interactions are more of the emotional level and not just purely physical. There are feelings of love, sweetness, kindness, compassion, some communication, and some more understanding. Because when you interact with someone on an emotional level, you become more sensitive towards their needs, and you can sense if they're happy or sad or disturbed, and you can make them feel better. Now, this need not only apply to romantic relationships, of course. You could have a colleague in your organization who you're very close to, and when he or she is feeling a little disturbed, like right now it's working from home, so you're communicating mostly via text or email, but something about the way they've written something feels a little off, feels a little different. And so you can ask him, ask her, hey, are you okay? Is everything all right? And the person will say, yeah, no. How did you know? I said, I don't know how I know. I just know. Well, it's because you are at stage 2 in this interaction with the soul. Your interaction is emotional. You are sensitive towards their needs. You understand the subtleties and nuances of their behavior. And chances are you can already do something to make them feel better. You can send them some food, or you can tell them a joke. Or if you're working from different countries, you can just send them a gift, or a funny photo, or pictures of cats that just make them feel better. You are in tune with the other person's emotions, and life is simpler. Which then brings us to stage 3. Now, this is where things begin to actually get interesting, because the third stage takes place when you start interacting and understanding each other at a mental level. You know and understand each other very well, and you have deep conversations. You can express your ideas freely and listen to the other person's viewpoints without drama, without trouble. Think of it like when you're talking to a person and the other person, okay, let's just take a concrete example. Some days back, I was witnessing an interaction between two close friends, and both of them, they're like brilliant people. They're like PhDs, right? One of them is an actual doctor, and the other one has a PhD in mathematics. And they were interacting, and you could see that there was some friction happening. Obviously, they're working from home. It's already a high-stress job, lots of responsibilities and all that. And their voices were becoming sharper, their body language was becoming closed. And one of them said, hey, hold on. Are you telling me about your problems because you want me to sympathize with you? Or you just want me to listen? Or you want me to offer you some advice? So this first person, they had already had a stressful day, and they've come home, and the second person was telling them about all the stresses and other things. So in their interaction, which was becoming kind of sharp and pointed, they said, do you want me to listen to you? Do you want me to agree with you? Or do you want me to advise you? Which one? Another person said, oh, I'm just sharing. It's nice to just have you to talk to. And so they heard each other out. The first person shared how their day went, and everything was fine. Everything was peaceful. That kind of relationship, they've been married for some time. It takes maturity, and that maturity grows. They had a deep conversation. They expressed their ideas freely without getting sucked into a fight or a drama. Because at that stage, they have a common idea, they have a common goal. And that goal is to have peace and stability at home. They recognize that they're working to have a secure future, to provide a better future for the children, to have a good quality of life and do things that they enjoy. And it's not about I'm right or you're wrong and I'm wrong and this or that. No, they do the right thing. But okay, you had a bad day. I'm here to listen to you. And sometimes when it's necessary, they will offer advice. Now, here's the one thing: if you followed any sitcoms or comedies, you know that it's always like one person is talking about her problems, and the other one is like, "Yeah, you should do this, you should do that," and the comedy just increases thereon. One trouble, and you've probably heard this, is that we listen to reply. We don't listen to understand. Our replies are given because we want to show that we're adding some value. We think that by answering, we are going to be able to add value. But all too often, the other person just needs a shoulder to lean upon and express themselves without feeling judged. And when you're at that stage in your relationship, you know that you're in a very good place, that there is maturity, there is stability, there's communication. Now, the fourth stage, which is admittedly a very rare stage, is the realm of the divine. This is when the both of you are interacting at the soul level. For the previous ones, you're interacting at the solar level, okay? And by that, I mean the solar plexus, not that you've gone to the sun. Anywho, when you're in the fourth stage, you can actually feel that you and your partner are spiritually one. There's no separation seen. I mean, yeah, sure, male body, female body, difference, but you don't see yourselves as bodies anymore. You experience oneness with your partner. And this is a very difficult thing to describe because it is very experiential, it is deeply, deeply personal. The only way that I can say that you're at this stage is if you have experienced it yourself. You felt a degree of soul connection. Sometimes you may have gotten a glimpse of it or a hint of it. Where? How? You might have felt it when you were perhaps in the beginnings or in the middle of a relationship with somebody. Could be a work relationship, could be a romantic relationship, anything. And you knew that another person was having something important going on in their lives, even without having any interaction. No phone call, no email, no text, nothing. You just know something is going on. It's because that soul and your soul, you're vibrating at the same frequency. You are connected. You are soul mates. Now, we had a talk on soulmates before, but to just give a very small summary of that is like you have roommates, you have flatmates. If you're in your school, you have classmates, and if you're sharing a bench, you have seatmates. So when you're on the same spiritual journey, you have soulmates. So soulmate is not the exclusive realm of the romantic. It is not the talk of twin flames or this or that. Okay, it's simply a person who's a friend of your soul, a soulmate. And at that level, you are connected spiritually. You don't see yourselves as bodies or different countries or anything. You're connected to the soul, and you're just happy to interact, to be, and go on. So keeping these four stages in mind, stage 1, physical, stage 2, emotional, stage 3, mental, stage 4, spiritual. If you keep these four stages in mind, and then you try and correlate that with what we said before, that you have the kind of relationships where it's physical, or the two souls are friends, the two souls have a common journey, the two souls have complementary skills, or the two souls need to work out their karma, you will find that these four stages sort of play out in those four types of relationships also. How? Well, we might get into that a bit later. But for now, most relationships are of this kind. There's depression, frustration, loneliness, anger, everything. Okay, someone has just messaged about wanting to see the other slide. If you go to our social media, I'll go on all the slides later on. If you go to our social media, you'll find our slide decks there also. Okay, so yeah, just going on to this page because someone's requested it. Take a screenshot if you have to, and we'll move on. So what's it going to take to go from this stage where there's depression, anxiety, humiliation, rejection, frustration, and turn that and change that into compassion, communication, tolerance, care, flexibility, kindness? Now, I have a friend who likes to call it the 3 C's of relationships: care, communication, and compassion. And there's a fourth one that I'd like to add: chemistry. You've got to have chemistry with your friends, with your partners, all right? Otherwise, life's going to be boring. And if you want to know how to increase chemistry, well, that's probably out of the purview of this talk. But if you're talking about care, communication, and compassion, yeah, that we can talk about. Now let's talk a little bit about karma workouts. And I'm sorry, I don't have any pictures, but I do have some fascinating stories for you. There was a story of, I think this was in the Philippines, where this young couple, they had 2 children who were born as pretty much vegetables. They were born without the ability to take care of themselves. They couldn't communicate. They couldn't move their bodies or anything. They had to be cleaned, clothed, fed, everything had to be done for them. Okay. And they went to an astrologer to find out what they'd done wrong, what fault they were being punished for, because they thought they were good people. And so that astrologer said, okay, what has happened is that in a prior incarnation, in a past life, the both of you, the parents, you two were prisoners in a jail. And there were two jailers who were torturing you. They would beat you, they would punish you, they would not give you sufficient food, they would torture you. And the two of you hated your jailers. You absolutely hated them. One day, you got an opportunity and you managed to trap them in the cell and you beat them and killed them. And then you escaped. In this lifetime, the two of you have been born as a couple. And your two jailers, they have been born as your children. The couple was shocked and they didn't know what to do. Now, I don't know how the rest of the story goes, but the karmic lesson over here is that bonds of love bring people closer, but bonds of hatred can chain them together. So in that lifetime, their hatred for their captors was so great, was so great, that the lords of karma said, no, this amount of hate cannot be allowed to carry on. You must work it out. You must release and let go. And so that's what they had to do. They were born in a situation where they had to take care of their captors. Because now look at how the subtlety of this works out. As a parent, you are expected to have unconditional love and care for your child, to take care of them, to love them, nurture them. But if you knew that, oh, these souls were actually responsible for my misery and torture in a past life, you wouldn't do that. It would be very difficult. So the law of karma workout, a lot of it depends on how you treat the people around you, how you treat the people in your life. Because in your next lifetime, someone you really do not like could become your partner. So if you think of someone in your life whom you don't really like, who you don't get along with, and that person comes in as your brother or sister or mother or father or partner, good luck to you. Well, fortunately, we have methods for taking care of that, and we'll get into it sometime later in the session. But if you found that story interesting, there's another one, a story of compassion, as we talked about. And this is actually a true story. Back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, when there was a huge uprising going on in Tibet, and many Buddhist monks, they were trying to escape, and the Chinese people were capturing them, torturing them. There was one monk who had been tortured really badly. Okay, I will not go into the physical details of the torture, but you can imagine it was bad. And so after resting and recovering for a few months, a journalist from India was asking him, what was the most despairing moment of your torture, of your captivity? And this monk, very quietly, he says, the darkest moment for me was when I lost my compassion, when I was afraid I was going to lose my compassion for my jailer. Think how profound that statement is, because this monk, he knows about the rule of karma, the law of karma and reincarnation. He knows about the law of compassion and mercy. And he knows that this jailer is just doing his duty to torture him. That's his job. But because that jailer is torturing him, that jailer in a future incarnation is also entitled to be tortured. So this monk, broken and bleeding, he was feeling compassion for the jailer, thinking, oh, this guy is going to suffer so badly in the next life. I feel so terrible. I feel so much compassion. And when the torture became too much, then he was beginning to lose that compassion. And that is what he calls as his darkest moment. That I thought I was going to lose my compassion for this person who is hurting me. And of course, it takes a very mature soul, a very, very advanced soul, to even have that level of thinking, to have that kind of perspective on life. When you are really that advanced, when you're really that mature, can you think of someone who's actually hurt you and say, you know what? He's just doing his job or she's just doing her job. They have a lesson to teach me and they're teaching me that lesson. It's okay. It's all right. And then you move on. When you're at that level, you know that you have reached somewhere spiritually. Nothing to be proud of, but something definitely to feel good about, to be aware of. That I'm not here just to be going through life, feeling hurt at every statement that everyone makes, or I'm out to hurt other people before they can hurt me. Because some of us have that. Some of you have that, right? You get into a relationship and you have commitment phobia and someone's going to say something. So before that person can say anything, you explode or you become sharp and you say something and the other person's like, okay, enough. And they feel hurt and they go away. We have that. Some of you will say, oh, I've been hurt so many times in my previous relationships. I don't want to get into pain or this or that. Okay, big talk. You're the soul. That person's the soul. You are spiritually connected. Spiritually, there's oneness. Forgive. Get pranic healing for yourself. Work out the gunk and garbage you've got stored in your chakras. Clean it out. It's not that difficult. Put some effort. It's not impossible. No one said it's easy. But hey, no one said it's impossible. At least you're not in a position where you have to take care of your jailers who are born as your completely dependent children. Okay? So now that's one story of a karmic relationship. At this point in time, if you've got your pen and paper beside you, or if you're taking notes, I'd like you to think of one person who you think you may have a terrible relationship with. Cast your mind back, look into your past or your present if needs be, and think of one person who this is applicable to and who you for sure do not want to have in your life the next incarnation. Just think of that one person, write their name down. I'll give you 10 seconds, write that down, and we'll come back to this person later, okay? That's 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, here's an example, another example, which again I'd like you to think of as someone who might be applicable in your life. And this story was shared by Master Choa at one of the retreats and in some of the videos. There's a story of a person who had an affair with a woman, and she was amazing, and he gave up all his things just to be with her. And then something happened. The wife found out, the other family members found out, and just like that, he lost his family, he lost his home, he lost his job, everything, and he was on the streets. He was devastated, utterly, completely ruined. So an ordinary person may say, oh, I love this person. How could she, be the cause of all my damage and destruction? But the fact is, or possibility is, that at the soul level, these two souls hated each other. They were their enemies. They probably killed each other in many lifetimes before. Who knows? And now in this lifetime, the enemy incarnated and took on the role of the lover, comes into his life, boom, destroys everything, gone. So on the pretense of love, on the facade or mask of love, everything got destroyed. So that's an example where a potential romantic relationship could actually lead to a downfall. Word of advice here, if you're already in a relationship, please don't go looking for another relationship, yeah? Or if someone's making moves at you, think, okay, cool, you might be very attractive, very up there. Best to be aware of these things. You wouldn't want to fall into a situation where you lose your life and your comfort and your everything. You don't want that. But if you have been through that situation, if you have maybe been the other person, the third person in a relationship, if you may have found yourself on the wrong side, make a note of that too. Because hey, we went through life. We are going through life. We see a lot of things. Love triangles may or may not have happened. Or we may have an emotional attachment towards someone who is already in a committed, fulfilling relationship with someone else. Or maybe that person just doesn't want to be in a relationship with you, but you are sending them chords or you're obsessing over them and thinking of them all the time. So if you have any such thing, make a note of that too. We're going to work on that. Because all of this comes to help you release any garbage, any pent-up energies that you may have in you, which is preventing you from getting the kind of relationship, the ideal relationship, which you may actually deserve, which you may actually want. So make a note of that. I'll give you a few seconds on that too. And then we move on to the next level. Take a few seconds, a few moments. All right. Now we're done. And here's an example of another karmic relationship. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it kind of falls into the realm of how karma works. So most of us by this time, we have this concept and idea that if you do bad things will come back to you. And that's fair, that's how it works. But sometimes if you do too much of good things and you don't accept the goodness to come back to you, then you'll be forced into a situation where things don't work. So there's a story of this king or you ask him for his bank account details, he's going to give that to you. The point is, this guy, he helped everybody, everywhere, without any questions. But when anyone helped him in return, he wouldn't accept it. He would just not accept it. If someone gave him a gift, he would give it away. He would not even keep it. Like he would refuse it. He wouldn't even take it. Okay. If someone gave him anything, he would just flat out block it. Now, there's some people who will take a gift, keep it for some time, and then gift it away to someone else. That's different. That's different. In this case, this guy, this king or baron or whatever, anytime he got something, anything, he would block it. But he was generating fascinating amounts of good karma by his charity, by his donations. So he would give and give and give and get a lot of good karma, but he just blocked the cycle of receiving. At a future incarnation, he was born as a total quadriplegic, paraplegic. He had absolutely no control over his bodily functions, no thoughts. As a baby, he was a vegetable. And he also had to be nurtured and taken care of. Everything was done for him. So the karma of this was, in one lifetime, he's only given, just given. So in a future lifetime, he's put into a position where he has to receive. He is compelled to receive. He can't do anything more. And the reason why I'm sharing this story is because it's very easy to make snap judgments that, oh, this person is suffering in this life, so in their past life, they must have been a terrible person. No, you don't know the past. You don't know the history. You don't know what their past karmic debts or karmic seeds were. Just because someone's suffering in this life does not mean that they were terrible in the past life. They could have been the best people. And now they've chosen this life to work out the remainder of their karma so that they can leave all of this behind and move and develop their soul. They have no need to incarnate further. So you see someone on the street, someone who's suffering, and you bless them, all right? And you bless them saying, feel good, feel blessed, I'm giving you some food. And then you take a selfie of you giving them the food. You put up on social media and you get 500 likes and you're like, so much generosity. Really? What are you really doing? You'll have seen on Facebook people who are of a spiritual bent of mind who use their spirituality as a tool for massaging their ego. Try not to be that. Because as you try to show yourself as a very spiritual person, as a person who's super generous, and you're putting that up on public platforms for everyone to appreciate, are you really experiencing the spiritual oneness and compassion for helping someone else? Or are you using it as a tool to feel good? The point of sharing this in a seminar about karmic relationships is because you don't want to be a person who's motivated by pride and showing off. You want to be a person who radiates so much love and compassion that you automatically become magnetic and other people are attracted to you. There are groups of people who do practices for attracting the right partner, for getting the right partner, okay? They push themselves to go out and do their practices. They push themselves to go to these speed dating events and meetups. They push to get things done. They push themselves to the gym to look good and sexy. They push themselves to eat the right food. All of that. But. Why do you have to push so hard? Pull. Radiate so much love and sweetness in your aura that the right partner is pulled to you, that they are attracted to you. Let the universe do the work for you. For those of you who've done higher workshops, you know a little bit about how these things work. You know what I'm talking about. Pull, let it happen. Don't push that you become an armadillo or a turtle in your own shell. Pull. And of course, don't be judgmental. When you have a brilliant mind, when you're very sharp and very perceptive, it becomes your duty, it becomes your job and responsibility to help other people also evolve. Not to criticize, not to comment. Because anybody can criticize, anybody can comment. But how many people are actually doing the work of improving themselves, of making themselves better, and making life worthwhile and easier for other people? This is getting a little heavy, but it had to be covered because there's a lot of stuff we are carrying around in our systems, which makes us difficult, which makes it difficult for us to get the right relationships. So if we acknowledge that, okay, we may have this in us, we can get rid of it. It's better to know what's blocking us and get rid of it than to live in denial and think that, oh, okay, everyone else sucks. So that's that. Now we're going to go on to one of the most interesting parts of this session. You see, if you rewind to the different kinds of relationships where there's compassion, there's communication and all that, when there isn't enough compassion, communication and care, there is friction. And so when two people interact closely, there's friction. And the way this is demonstrated is you take your left hand, you put your phone down, and you take your right hand, and you put both hands together and you rub them, rub. And you feel your hands are heating up. Friction. If you move your two hands away and you move it about in air, obviously it's not heating up. Unless, of course, you are the human torch and you've got a fever and your temperature is super high. But assuming that you are not a mutant and assuming that you just have normal temperature, when you move your hands away, you won't be feeling that heat and friction. When two people, when they interact, they come closer and closer. Their aura, their energies, they generate this resistance, they generate this friction. The lubricant, as Master Choco says, is love in the form of loving thoughts, loving feelings, loving words, and loving actions. So how do you put this into practice? Observe how your partner thinks, acts, and talks. Be aware of the impact of your words and actions upon them and see their response to different situations. So if you go back to the story of these two PhD holders, these doctors, the two of them, they were becoming sharp and on edge, but they observed how their partner acted, talked, and they know how they think. And they were becoming aware that their words were also becoming sharp and pointed, or they were becoming very cold or heated. And they responded differently. Like they said, hey, are you telling me this because you want to respond, so you just want me to listen, or what? So when the partner notices that they're paying attention, they will understand, they'll realize that you care, and they will reciprocate. And this will eventually bring in more love and relationship, more love and understanding into the relationship. And again, this need not apply only for romance. It can apply for your colleagues as well, for your partners as well, at work. Because if you see one person, the boss, who is very sharp, this story was shared on YouTube by one of our other friends in a talk. And she shared the story of how her boss was very, very rude in her previous job and was very hurtful to everybody. So she knew pranic healing, she knew twin heart, so she would bless the person. And after a few months, when she was interacting with said boss, he was very pleasant, he was very encouraging and nurturing. And so she went to her other colleagues and she said, he's been so nice. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? He's just as rude, if not more. And that's when she realized that, oh, it's because she was using the power, the technology of the teachings of blessing this other person with love, that he's also responding with love. And it happens at the energy level. So someone messaged me a few days ago when they saw this post and say, what happens if the partner doesn't notice you paying love and attention? Well, it's in giving that you receive. So are you giving them love and attention, hoping that they're going to notice? Or you're giving love and affection because you are feeling that oneness, you're activating your heart, and you're actively blessing and sending love. Because that's the rule of life. That's the way energy works. Like energy attracts. You radiate love to somebody, they will respond. Their aura will be filled with that love for you. It will transmute any negativity or any hurt. So if your motivation is that you are doing it with the sole purpose of them getting to notice you, well, your motivation was from a different chakra and not from the heart. That's probably why it didn't work. Solution, it's easy. Activate your heart. If you know to enhance meditation, you easily know what I'm talking about. If you don't know to enhance meditation, well, that's for a separate session. Okay. So the one part we talked about a passive kind of method, it was an observatory kind of method. Now we're coming on to a do and don't situation. Okay. So the first one, this one, was that, okay, this is something which is happening, people are interacting, there's friction, so you generate love, you radiate love, that's one. This situation, when you react strongly, the reactions from other people will be strong. When you react with loving kindness, it'll cool them down. So this is a do and don't kind of situation. Because say you're in a disagreement, you're fighting. It's very easy to get into a heated argument about who's right and who's wrong. You said this. No, you said that. You did this. Or you did that. Bang, bang, beef, baff, boom, boom. Try not to do that. Try not to let it get to that stage. The key here is don't react emotionally. In the heat of an argument, if you react impulsively or angrily, you're only going to make the problem worse. And I don't need to give you any examples of this because you've experienced this in your life. You know exactly what this is like. And chances are, if you're remembering it, okay, let's do this together. Stay calm, take a deep breath, inhale, open your mouth and let go. Let's do that once more. Inhale, bring that beautiful oxygen in, open your mouth and exhale. One more time. Inhale, take a deep breath, exhale, let go, and take a sip of water. The key is to not react emotionally. Wait for the right time to talk things over. Because if someone's escalating, the other person must balance. One person is going up, up, up. The other person must go down, 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 and cool. If both parties go up, 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 well, you're going to hit the ceiling and then it's going to be an explosion. Balance. It takes practice. It takes awareness. Of course, it takes awareness. But life is like that. You have to know about this technique. You have to remember the technique at the right time, and then you practice it. And as you practice more and more and more and more, you're going to get to a stage where you don't really need to think of it consciously. It becomes a part of your character. We're going to talk about that. And finally, this stage, project loving kindness to your partner and the person will bloom. And you look at the nice little flower over there in the photo. This is the do. So the first one is something's happening. The second one is don't do this. The third one, this one, is what you should do. Project loving kindness to your partner and the person will bloom. They will bloom. So how do you do that? All right. Think of one of the persons you see on that list. Actually, you know what? Both those people you see on the list that you wrote down some time ago, just close your eyes. Or, okay, before you close your eyes, look at this particular slide. Look at the color pink over here. Imagine this pink and imagine this gold. Okay, just imagine that. Imagine the two people in front of you and just radiate this color to them. And just say, just verbally say, loving kindness, loving kindness, loving kindness. I fill you up with loving kindness, loving kindness, and loving kindness. One more time. I fill you up with loving kindness, and loving kindness. All right, just release, open your eyes with a smile. Hopefully, if you've done this right, you should be feeling neutral or happy. If you're feeling angry, well, probably you can watch the replay and go this part again. So now we're going to go into the conclusion. We are getting into the ending of this. To know the nature and status of your relationship, ask yourself these questions. So if you have a romantic partner, if you're if you're already in a relationship, ask yourself these 5 questions. What is the level of my relationship? Is it only physical interaction? Do we have good communication with each other? And can we have deep conversations? Do we trust each other? How open are we with one another? Do we have the same perspective towards life? And do we understand each other emotionally? And at the soul level, do we feel a certain degree of oneness? So these questions, they are also based upon what we talked about in the beginning, those four stages of the relationship: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So the first one is very obvious. What's the level of my relationship? Do we only have physical interaction? Is it only sensual exchanges? If not, do we communicate? Can we have conversations? Can we talk about love? Can we talk about goals? Can we talk about education? Can we talk about healing? Can we talk about helping other people? Do we have good communication? And do we trust each other? If you have a thought, if you have an idea, are you willing to share this with your partner? Or do you think that the other person might ridicule you, or they might laugh at you, or they might ignore you? And then you go towards understanding. Do you have the same perspective towards life? Now, admittedly, in today's day and age, it's not easy to have someone who shares 100% the same perspective. But you can be still in the general area. You can agree upon 80% of things, and 20%, you work it out. But if you have a general idea that, yes, we are here, we're in this journey together, we have a common goal, we have similar likes, similar dislikes, and we can help each other become better persons and a better soul, then you're in a good place. But if you answer no, well, that again also tells you where you stand in your relationship. And eventually, do we have soul contact? Do we feel a certain degree of oneness? This again is very difficult for me to quantify or explain in words, because we are using our physical vehicle, our physical body, and our physical senses to try and explain and experience something which is beyond the purview of anything physical. So for the last one, this is something that you will know, and you'll know when you know it. Are we having soul contact? Do we feel a certain degree of oneness? Now, if you answered no by any chances, if you've found that there's still some people in your life who are just rude and mean and nasty, this is from the Golden Lotus Sutras of Master T. And he answers this saying, how do you handle those people who are a pain in the neck, those nasty people in your life? So imagine a cord which is connecting the both of you, your front and back solar plexus chakra, and this line, silently say Namaste. Salutations to the divinity in you. We're all children of God. We all make mistakes. We're all evolving. You are forgiven. God's blessings be with you. Go in peace. And you can repeat this 7 times for 7 days. Now, in an ideal world, I would like to actually do this with you, carry this forward with you. But since we don't have that amount of time, make a note of it. Namaste. Think of that person. Namaste. Salutation to the divinity in you. We're all children of God. We're all evolving. We all make mistakes. Salutation to the divinity in you. You are forgiven. God's blessings be with you. Go in peace. And then you cut the cord, release and let go. You are the soul. The other person is the soul. You understand that you're all children of God. You're all evolving. You all make mistakes. You're forgiven. God's blessings be with you. Go in peace. And you're supposed to repeat this 7 times for 7 days. And this is the technique for healing those karmic relationships which don't seem to want to be healed. But then you don't have the patience, you don't have the time or energy to waste on people who are not willing to evolve. And so, okay, just be done with it. Release, let go. Let me focus on something which can actually help. So if you've been in an abusive relationship, or there's still some past hurt, or maybe some relatives, because God knows, relatives are not easy to deal with. Cut the cord. Do this prayer for releasing those nasty people in your life, those pain in the necks or pains in the neck. Say that, release, let go. 7 times, 7 days. Now, what happens if you miss it? It's okay. If you miss one day, just do it the next day. But if you miss 2 or 3 days in succession, well, it might be a better idea to start your 7 days from scratch. So that's how you heal the karmic relationship of releasing nasty, nasty people. And now we come to a session where, of course, you don't want to release the person, you don't want to them out of your life, but you want to improve the relationship with them. And you can also actually do this with people who you have a good relationship with, and you want to enhance it. You want it to be filled with more love, more understanding, better communication. So just silently say, you are forgiven. God's blessings and peace be with me and with you. That's it. I know this person who I greatly admire and respect. And this person has a lot of responsibilities. So sometimes when she's communicating, we're talking, the communication can be a little rushed. But she is so mature, so gentle, so aware that she'll come back and say, hey, I'm sorry if I was a little cold or a little rough. I was just very busy with something. I hope everything's okay. And I would honestly not even spend 2 minutes thinking about it, because I'm like, yeah, okay, that's how you are, that's how we are, we're working. But obviously I'm a little more emotional, and she is in tune to know that I am more emotional than that. And so she proactively takes the step of ensuring we have a very happy, harmonious working relationship. And I can't begin to express how remarkable a characteristic that is and how admirable I find it. And I thought it's relevant to share this personal experience. Because this is an example of a person who is quite helpful, quite mature, and someone who is very inspiring. So you can use this example to see that, yes, there are people in life who are at this standard, who are at this level, that you proactively improve a relationship, not letting anything happen. And as your sensitivity increases, as you also mature as a person, you will find that other people are kind of slow. You'll find other people are not keeping up with you, or that it's too difficult to talk to them. So in that case, forgive other people. Practice patience, practice tolerance. Forgive, and forgive. As you forgive, you will be forgiven. Because hey, you might be in a superior place compared to some other people, but when you compare yourself to the great ones, or okay, not even the great ones, if you just compare yourself to your spiritual teacher, you'll find there's a huge difference. And your spiritual teacher might be saying, oh my God, why is this person so like this? So, nothing to be proud of. Okay, you're smart, cool. But there are people who are smarter. You're successful, cool. But there are people who are much more successful. So go where you are, do what you're doing, forgive, bless. And now this is a final technique. We are pretty much at the end of the presentation and the talk. This is a slightly more complicated, a little more nuanced thing, which is taken from the tenets of, say, hypnotherapy, a little bit of NLP. I just read out the technique to you. It's pretty self-explanatory. On a piece of paper, write a letter to the person who's hurt you. Okay, if there's someone who's hurt you, write a letter. Detail everything, every hurt, every frustration, everything which has made you angry. Write it all down. Once you've written it, fold that piece of paper up until it fits in your fist. Enclose it completely, like it should be fully in your fist. No paper should be visible. It shouldn't be peeping out from between your fingers. Inhale, pray for divine help, and exhale out all the feelings of negativity onto the paper. Do it some more. Inhale and exhale. Everything that you wrote, all the stuff that you wrote, exhale it out from your heart, from your solar system, from your entire system, from your solar plexus. Exhale that whole thing out onto the paper. Let the paper absorb it. So repeat the process of inhalation, exhalation 7 times. After exhaling out all the negativity onto the paper, burn it. Burn it completely on a candle flame. Wait for the whole paper to turn into ashes. Then flush the ashes down the toilet. Do this every alternate day for as long as it takes to get rid of all the deep-rooted stuff that's stuck in your system. Write everything that's frustrated you, write it in full details, fold the paper up, grab it in your palm and close it in your palm. Inhale, exhale 7 times, burn it and let go. So on that piece of paper where you may have written down the name of one person whom you definitely don't want to have a relationship in the next life because you can't stand each other, you might want to consider doing that exercise, this exercise, keeping them in mind. As an acquaintance of mine once said, great hatred is only possible when there was great love to begin with. You don't end up hating someone automatically. You must have loved them or cared for them enough, and they did something or something happened that changed your hate, your love into something that was not love. So there is an emotional connect, there is an emotional connection and accord. Release, forgive, let go. Because holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. Yet you are the person who gets burned. I didn't say this, Lord Buddha said it. And the people in theosophy, Charles Leadbeater and Alice Bailey and Annie Besant, all these great clairvoyants, they made a note of thought forms. So on the left, you would see thought forms of explosive anger and angry jealousy. And every time you think a thought, you have an energy of that type, which is generated in your aura and chakras. It's not pleasant. So you don't want it in your system. Release, let go. Because you don't want to be at a level of level 0. This is again from a talk and a lecture by Master Chua, where level 0 is the person swears eternal hatred, eternal enmity. The person is unable to forgive the offender. They keep thinking about them endlessly. And this hatred binds them together. Now, we already spoken about this. Forgiveness is the key to letting go. So forgive and let go. Of course, there are two more stages, which is that they forgive at the moment of death. At this time, at this level, the person gathers everyone, forgives them all. It usually happens in family relationships. And in this level, also, the current lifetime seems to have been ruined by so much anger and resentment and internalized bitterness. At least the future lifetimes are saved. Then level 2 is when they forgive after several years. They realize that harboring all that anger and resentment affects only them, and the person who's caused the hurt may not even be aware of his actions. Like you may have a relative who said something about your appearance, and they just casually mentioned it, and you, as a child, you held on to it. And when you grew up later on, several years have passed, that relative doesn't even know that you're upset for whatever things you've done. So you forgive, you let go of all the pain and suffering. And so a few years may have passed in unhappiness and bitterness. At least the next few years can be spent happily, or the next many years can be spent happily. From level 2, we go on to levels 3, 4, and 5, where they forgive after several months or several weeks or a few days. Now, someone who can forgive after several months already has some degree of spiritual development. Most of us are somewhere here. So the person doesn't keep the anger and resentment for too long, not more than a few months. And once they cool down from the unpleasant event, forgives, forgets, and continues living. But there are some people who are more evolved and they can forgive after a few weeks. They release the cord that's connecting them, all the lower emotions, cut and let go. And a person who can forgive after a few days is someone who's already familiar with the concept of forgiveness and has experienced the effects most likely in their life. Such a person is already in the process of developing the heart further and will be able to forgive and forget in a matter of a few days. Level 6 is a high standard. They can forgive after a few hours. It's a high standard and not everyone can practice it all the time. Any unpleasant event makes the solar plexus chakra work erratically, results in the production of negative lower emotions. And after a few hours, when the solar plexus normalizes, the person can let go of the negative emotions, they forgive the offender, and they cut the negative links connecting them. Level 7, according to the teacher, is the goal. You must be able to forgive within a few minutes. When you release the emotional pain, you feel centered, emotionally calm, connected, and function more effectively. Constant forgiveness also increases the rate of healing and brings about better health. By forgiving and blessing, you stop wallowing in mud and you achieve inner peace and freedom. Now, at this stage, we will spend 2 minutes in quiet reflection. Make a list of the people in your life whom you need to forgive, whom you may have been harboring resentment and annoyance for, and you can use the prayer of forgiveness right now in these 2 minutes to forgive, forget, and let go. Because there's no point having a karmic healing relationship seminar if you're not going to heal your karmic relationships. So make a list, write down, and start to forgive. I will put back on the slide this prayer. Do it. In 2 minutes, we will talk. Also, in the meantime, if you have any questions that you want to ask, put it up on the chat. I will come back to it at the end of the session. This session will end in about another 10 minutes. So now's a good time. All right, that's good. If you have any questions, write them down. We'll come down to it. All right, let's move on. If you have any relationships where you'd like to take them better, make them even more loving, more compassionate, here are 10 steps. Now, these steps are outlined. We have a book on this, The Alchemy of Relationships. It's available on the Prana World website under the Prana book section. But I'm taking a portion of that and laying it here for your benefit. Love and accept who you are. Because if you don't love yourself, you will not be able to attract the right partner into your life. If you don't love and accept yourself, your existing relationships, your most important relationship, the one with yourself, does not bloom. And so that will radiate out for everyone else. So love and accept who you are. Take your meds, MEDS, meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. When you start to take care of yourself in these fundamental ways, physically, emotionally, in other ways, you find life increases, becomes better. As you love and accept yourself, try to do the same for your partner. Learn to take the whole package, forgive and forget, because even roses come with thorns. So no person is blameless or without a fault. If you're starting a relationship and you find the other person has something which is a little problematic, don't end it right there. Or as Master Chua says, after the first fight, don't immediately file for divorce. Work things out. Focus on solutions. Be responsible for your actions. Speak things out. Don't hold your problems inside. So hopefully, by now, you would have at least come to this stage where you are not holding your problems inside. You're able to visualize and think of certain people who may have upset you, and you are able to let it go. If you have a partner, meditate together. It really increases the love. If you don't have a partner, you're looking to attract one, consider meditating and blessing the whole earth and blessing that the right person, the right partner be attracted to you. As you release this energy of love into the world, the love energy finds a way back to you. And you should have a relationship target also. You don't just want to say, I want the right partner. Well, where do you see yourself in the next 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, 10 years? What is your relationship target? What kind of a person, what qualities are you looking for? Are you looking for a person who is, financially stable? Are you looking for a person who's just going to stay at home? Are you looking for a person who's going to take care of you? Are you looking for a person that you want to take care of? Everyone has different targets. Everyone has different goals. What's great for one might not be great for the other, or who knows? So have a relationship target, know where you are going, Know where things are happening. Spend quality time. Don't take it for granted. Today, we are addicted to our cell phones, like it or not. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do, even before you've gotten out of bed, even if you've gone to the toilet, you reach for your cell phone and your thumb starts working. Tack, 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 notifications, WhatsApp messages, and all that. I know I do that. So spend quality time with your partner. If you don't yet have a partner, again, meditate, release that energy into the environment. Try healing techniques. There's pranic healing for this. Everything is a protocol. Keep things fun. Don't be so serious. Okay, you're not responsible for solving all the world's problems all by your own. No one is responsible for that all by themselves. Keep it fun. Take things easy. Nurture your relationships. And with that, we come to an end of today's presentation, of today's seminar. I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it of some value. If there are points which you already knew, I hope they've come back fresh into your memory and you're able to apply them. If there's stuff which has added value to you, I'm thankful, I'm grateful for that. And now we will answer some of the questions. Okay. When we think about a person we can't stand in our life, are we not generating the bond of hatred? Because the thought is not being able to stand them. So how will the exhalation and the paper burning technique help in breaking the bond completely? Okay. So in this question, in this particular perspective, what you're doing is you already have some stuff which is inside you and you're trying to release all the pent-up garbage in your system. All the stuff which is blocking your solar plexus, your throat, and other chakras, you want to get rid of all that stuff in your system. Once that stuff is cleared out to a large extent, you have to remember that like energies attract. So if you have the energy of hatred inside you, then you will attract the energy of hatred from that person too. But when you cut it off, when you release and let go, that person's hatred doesn't find its way back because there's no energy, no similar energy to link itself back to you. But when you generate love, you radiate love and love energy comes back. It's all to do with energy. Like energies attract. Opposite energies, they don't work with each other. Now, you may have heard the thing that opposites attract and likes repel and all that. That's a separate thing. In the world of energy, if you have love in you, you will attract love. If you have hatred in you, you will attract hatred. There's cleansing first, and then there's energizing. So the process of the paper burning is to cleanse, to release, and let go. I hope that answers the question. Okay, there's the next question. What do you have to say about modern day couples where people look for options instead of people? I don't really have anything to say about that because different people behave in different ways. They have different levels of maturity, different levels of understanding. If it's something that hurts other people, then they might want to look into that. But if they're not even aware that their behavior is hurting other people, then someone might want to sit them down and explain. People behave in different ways. What can you do? You can only take care of yourself. You can only radiate love. You don't have to be a doormat. Your heart doesn't have to be so activated that other people can just walk over you. But you can simply make life easier for yourself by having good relationships with yourself, with your family, with your loved ones. So before we conclude the session, just close your eyes once, take a deep breath, and imagine all the people in your life in a circle around you. You're there, your family, your parents, your partners, your siblings, then your extended family, your brothers and sisters, their partners, cousins, more distant relatives maybe, your friends, your best friends, your closest friends, your colleagues, your bosses, or your clients or customers, your suppliers or vendors, your spiritual community, the rest of the world. Visualize all of them. Take a deep breath, have a smile on your face and say, I, the soul, salute the divinity within you. I, the soul, share my love with you. And as you exhale, share the love with them. Inhale love from God, hold your breath, exhale, and share the love with all of them, to the whole world, from your family to your friends, colleagues, and everyone else. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale and exhale, and share the love. And when you're done, open your eyes with a smile. If there are no further questions, we'll now end the session. Thank you so much for joining in, for being a part of this seminar, this esoteric masterclass, with some techniques, with some teachings. Let's end with a prayer of thanksgiving to the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, to my spiritual teacher, Master Chakuk Sui, to Lord Mahaguruji Mele, to all the great ones, the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, to the angels of love and relationship. We invoke for your blessings, for improving and healing our relationships, for improving our relationships with ourselves, with our family members, with our partner, with our loved ones. Thank you for blessing all my relationships from now and in the future with love, love, and love, with healing, with communication, with compassion, with chemistry. Thank you for blessing all my relationships at every level. Thank you, in full faith. Thank you, everyone. Atma Namaste. Thanks for joining in. Please do leave a review or leave your comments on social media on the post that you've shared. It helps us reach out to more people and help more people. Thanks for joining in. I've been Orko from Prana World. Take care. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.